Welcome. Xander Holt here, the Primal Sex Expert. And today I'm going to share with you my story about how black blood, renegade scientists, and wild beasts all help me to naturally and permanently overcome my erectile dysfunction and premature ejaculation, and has allowed me to help a whole host of other men do the same thing for themselves. How I went from being a physical therapist to the Primal Sex Expert, helping men have incredible sex lives for their entire lives. I'm going to start with part one, the black blood, because that's what led me down this path to begin with. It all starts back in 2013 when I'm developing erectile problems, both ED and PE. I mean, I'm lucky if I get it half hard to 3/4 hard, and then maintaining that is a real issue. And then if I do get hard enough to where I can actually penetrate her, I'm lucky if I last a few seconds before I ejaculate. Extremely frustrating, and it was a very stressful year. My marriage was falling apart. I was having some emotional conflicts on an injury that my daughter suffered. We had a business that was losing money, keeping us up at night. So we started marital counseling and went through that for quite some time, over a year. And during that time, I'd spent a lot of time talking about my sexual issues as we're working through our marriage, trying to overcome that. Because I'm thinking that it's stress, right? I mean, there's so much stress going on. But as we go through this and we start taking care of some of the issues that are causing so much stress, my problems are actually getting worse. And I'm getting very frustrated. And I'm not the type of guy who takes pharmaceuticals, but I'm like, maybe I should give these ED drugs a try. Well, right when I start to consider that, I have a friend come visit me. I just moved to Colorado. He wanted to come visit me and visit the state and catch up, see how I was doing. So we start sharing stories and opening up. And I guess this was really weighing on his mind because he starts talking to me about erectile problems he's been having for quite some time. He was 47 at this time, and he told me that he had not had a natural erection since he was 40 years old. And I tell you, I was all ears because I was 44 at the time and I was starting to have some significant problems. So he talks about how he went to the doctor and they gave him ED drugs, Viagra, Cialis. And they helped him somewhat. They didn't work all the time. Sometimes they worked. But he hated the side effects. He talked about how not only did they flush his face where it was real obvious he was using it, but they gave him a runny nose, they gave him really bad headaches, back pain. And he said the worst thing for him was he would wake up in the middle of the night in pain, severe pain, he'd say, with his nose on fire. Because the heartburn he got from this was so bad that the gastric juices would come up and go into his nostrils, and he said it literally felt like there was flames in his nose. Now, this kind of took care of itself because those ED drugs stopped working for him, which happens for a lot of guys. They don't work for every guy, but even the ones they work for, usually they'll stop working over time. A lot of times they just stop working, and that's what happened to him. So he went back to the doctor. And the doctor said, this has really gone on too long, and we're going to have to look at more drastic measures for you to get the erections that you want. So he starts talking to him about surgery and literally implanting. He's talking about how he's cutting the penis open, splaying it open, and they're going to put a pump right into his penis. And then this bulb will come out and go into his scrotum, and he'll have to squeeze this bulb to get an erection. But there's no guarantee it's going to work, and it's completely irreversible. Once it's done, it's done. And if it doesn't work, it's going to make things much worse. So I'm listening to this, and I'm like freaking out, right? I mean, it can get this bad? I didn't even know this was a thing. So he was really, the doctor could tell he's freaking out about that. So he talks to him about the second option, where he can take a hypodermic needle and inject this substance called trimix directly into his penis, and it should give him an erection. And while he was not crazy at all about the idea of sticking a needle in him into his penis, it sounded much better than that surgery, so he was going to give it a try, and it gave him an erection. He got really excited about it at first. But it didn't take too long before that excitement started to dampen down quite a bit, because he's a single guy and dating became an issue. Because now he's like, well, I don't want to tell the women I'm having to inject myself in order to get an erection. So he hid it, and there's some issues with that. And one of which is that trimix has to be refrigerated. So he has to get the women back to his place, because he can't carry it with him. It's got to be in the refrigerator. So, and then during the date, he's got to make some kind of excuse to go get the stuff out of the fridge and go into the restroom and inject himself. So that means he's got a full-on hard-on at that point. So he's got that before they even start anything. And then once they finish, the erection does not tend to go down, but trimix actually, ejaculating can actually make it even harder. Okay, so he's got to figure out some way to explain why this erection will not go down, which is difficult for him. And then he says sometimes on the dates, the woman wants to go out and do something after they have sex, and he's got to go out in public with this rock hard erection, and he just says it's extremely uncomfortable. It's very embarrassing. So it's really messing with his head, right? And then he's got this turnaround breakthrough thing that just totally floors him. He injects himself, and the erection will not go down. Hours go by, and he's getting close to 12 hours. Now he is like really freaking out, because he knows what can happen when you have an erection that lasts that long. That blood is trapped in your penis, and it is not getting oxygenated. It's not getting the oxygen it needs, which means your penis does not get the oxygen it needs. So it will literally kill your penis. It will kill the flesh, it will kill the nerves, and sometimes they have to literally amputate the penis. He knows this. So he freaks out. He gets in his car. He speeds off to the emergency room with an ice pack in his crotch, because he's hoping the ice will bring the erection down. He gets to the ER, but he's too scared to go in. His body is literally shaken, because he knows what they do. They drill a hole in your penis and they get the blood out. And he is really scared to do that. But at the same time, he's terrified that he's going to lose his penis. It's dying. It's literally dying while he's there in the parking lot. But he can't go in. He can't get his body to move. So he doesn't know what he's going to do, but he's going to figure it out. He slams on the gas, and then he just hauls ass back home, gets on the internet, starts researching guys who have had the same issue. And he finds a guy who makes a post who says how he fixed it himself using a hypodermic needle. So he gets onto Google, he gets a picture of the penis, the anatomy of the penis, and he figures out exactly where he needs to stab himself in order to get the blood to drain out. And then he takes that very same hypodermic needle that he used to inject himself to get that never-ending erection, and he grabs hold of it to stab himself in that exact location. And his hand is shaking like this. He's just terrified. But at the same time, he's even more terrified that he's going to lose his penis. And that terror overcomes this terror, and he just reflexively stabs himself and then pulls the plunger out so the blood can come out. And then he tells me, he says, this is in no way an exaggeration. He said, that blood that came out of me was thick and it was black, just like used motor oil. That was his words exactly. And I'll tell you, when he told me this story, I was just emotionally drained. I just freaked out because I was having these problems. And I went into a panic attack for days, it felt like. Because I'm thinking, what the hell am I going to do now? I was about to do the same thing he did. I was about to go get ED drugs. And it's like, there's no way now I'm going to go get ED drugs and mask the problem, the real problem, and just address the symptoms and end up in that kind of situation? Hell no! There's no way I'm going to do that. So that's what set me down this path, researching what will naturally take care of the source of the issue of both the erectile dysfunction and the premature ejaculation. And man, I went down a path. I'm talking 4 years I went down this path. It was both fascinating and also extremely frustrating. And I'll talk much more about that in part 2 when I get into the renegade scientists and talk about how I developed the Rock Hard for Life formula. But if you want to know more about the Rock Hard for Life formula and how to permanently address your erectile dysfunction and premature ejaculation, as well as hear the rest of the story, or just the part of the story I just talked about in much more explicit detail, I'm much more explicit in the sales letter than I am on YouTube, then go to rockhardforlife.com, download our free ebook on getting natural smoothies to help boost your erections, and read the sales letter, and you can learn all about the whole story as well as the Rock Hard for Life formula. But I will tell the rest of the story in part 2 and part 3 here on YouTube. But until that time, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, like this video, and if you're a guy, go to our free Facebook group, Rock Hard for Life, where you learn much more about primal sex, lasting as long as you want, and getting stage 4 natural, consistent, rock hard erections for life. Until next time, go be a beast.